All right, welcome to another episode from the Chart Readers. I really wasn't planning on making this, but I had a couple people ask, and I'm here to deliver. Look, I'm gonna do a shorter video today. I'll give you a better video tomorrow, I promise. But let's just look at a couple things. All right, the most important thing going on right now is NASDAQ all-time highs. Okay, we closed Friday down here at 19.9 something. We gap up to open at 20,000 and actually run to 20 plus, right? So much when and I mean I said this earlier. I don't know if you watched the first video or not, but deeper. You hear me say it all the time. All right, look, a normal index day is small. All right, it's less than 0.5%. When NASDAQ can bring you 1.24, almost 8x bigger than it should be, on top of gapping up and all-time highs, right? Just the percent alone is monster, right? But when the ocean is calm, you know I try to never ever curse on these videos, right? But our bad little boats, the stocks that we buy, even the dinkiest of little ones, right? They can go deeper and deeper and deeper into the ocean. Profits, right? So that's what we're seeing. NASDAQ is going insane. I'm still a little annoyed that S&P 500 is flat and Dow Jones is down. I really am not pretending that that's not bothering me. This needs to be in unison, just like I need the quant stocks, any sector, to be in unison, right? But end of the day, we're looking at a tech heavy place. We're looking at only the NASDAQ. We're looking at only QQQ. We're looking at this sector and loving what we're seeing, okay? As long as volume is there, as long as we're over the moving averages, lovely things will happen. And we're seeing some recoveries from other ones. And again, you still see the moving averages do the job, right? So I'll do a quick flash of each. I'll give you my lines up and down. Again, you know I'm here to keep things realistic. We've seen some craziness in this, and my goal is steady, right? I know the term is slow and steady, but I kind of learned that on the Discord. It's not slow and steady because these things, they move quickly, but there is a steadiness to this that I sincerely believe technical analysis and some well-drawn lines and knowing how to read these computer lines can hold, right? So before we do go any further, though, and I give you more of my thoughts and opinions, what are we going to do? Same thing we always do, right? We'll take a look at the daily and the weekly to see how these things are setting up short term. We have our 5 moving averages. There are horizontal support and resistance lines that I do draw manually myself. And then when we are done up here, we'll use the MACD, RSI, and volume as our lower indicators. Hey, really quickly, if you can, please subscribe to this channel. Share this video online with your friends. Comment good or bad if you disagree. Look, anything you can do helps so much with these YouTube algorithms. But for real, just being here, giving me your time, oh, I'm so grateful for it. All right, so again, we're basically looking at a couple things. Either we're staying over and bouncing on the 8 moving average like a champion. QBTS is a good one. We're kind of going below it, never losing it, and all of a sudden using it as a bounce point. QMCO was almost the worst. No, it actually wasn't. Look at that thing, right? Lovely little bounce. Actually bouncing on the 8. Is that really what they all look like? IONQ. IONQ is a good example. This one actually needed the 20 just a little bit. Again, the 8 and the 20 are moving together. It's a normal thing. QSI is the one that's a little bit concerning. I'll for sure talk about this one as well. I obviously want them all to be going up, right? But there's something to be said about this on the weekly chart. I know we just talked about the 100 moving average on the Discord, so I'll flash that one. QUBT, real quick, look at that thing, right? A little bit like IONQ, but I think more than anything like the rest, pretty much all about the 8 moving averages, average line, those are all pretty much just little doji candles right there, right? So really liking what we're seeing across the sector, to say the least. I think what's really important is the volume, and I mean, we'll talk about them as we go, right? But with Rigetti, the one thing that just still stands out to me, that looks oddly consistent and oddly stable, despite the fact that we went from so low to so high on the volume, right? It doesn't look like a crazy pump and dump. I know it looks like a pump and dump right there too, but just as you kind of zoom out and just kind of look at a little bit of an average of the candles, that's a pretty steady line right there. So gotta love that thing real quick, right? The one thing I remember talking about on the last video was, look, just get me over this candle and I'm going to believe we're going to go on up. Otherwise, the worry was just going to be we were going to maybe come back down to the 8 before eventually bouncing, right? Friday was good. Monday did the job. When you can get over the biggest candle to the left, good things generally come with it. And I think that's what we saw in these 2 days, right? Didn't quite get to the resistance above. Oh man, I got to zoom out a lot. Let's go to the weekly. What's the next line up? Look, next line up is a very, very, very important line. You can see it. This is the IPO line. This is basically where we were living before a crazy hard crash. This is the golden line right here. If we get over this, all you can start thinking about is all-time highs, all-time highs, all-time highs. Clearly, all-time high is way up here in the 11 pluses, and you know I'll make you some lines above that. But let's see if we can get over the golden line and really what'll come from that, right? So for now, that's still the line. You know, as I look at the Rigetti climb, we went from, no, I actually disagree. Look, I think most of the bounces have been going away from the 8 horizontal. That was a loss. Whatever, go up and go horizontal, go up, kind of come horizontal. This thing is still coming up, right? So far it is doing well. Look, 79 on the normal side would be a high RSI, but we were in the 90s and living there, and really it's all about volume at this point. So I think what I would be expecting, look, on the downside, I still think actually 7 is relatively realistic. I'm not going to draw this line, but if we lose 775, I think there's a good chance that it'll fall to 7. Otherwise, I mean, I see it climbing after hours actually already right now, right? But again, you know I don't care about after hours much. Get me over 850, and I'm going to start thinking about a move to that 1020 line that I just turned into the golden line right there. Weekly chart still looks good. Dang, that's a 97 RSI on the weekly. Goodness, listen to me. I'm not here to fall in love with a stock, all right? I sincerely believe green, green, green will turn to red, red, red at some point, okay? As long as NASDAQ's pushing all-time highs, we're here expecting good things. But I promise you, these are just 4 random letters, and you know, we're as hyped as I am, and I'm sure you are. Red, red, red to green, green, green is the good side. Green, green, green to red, red, red is the other side of the coin, and don't forget that, all right? Powell speaks in 2 days, FOMC meeting. As long as he does what he's supposed to do, NASDAQ will keep going. I sincerely do believe that, all right? Next one we'll look at, this isn't really in much of an order. You would think I would have ordered this better, but again, like I said, I didn't really plan on it. QMCO, yo, there's a couple, I said yo, excuse me. There's a couple things jumping out, and I zoomed in really to start with the volume. You know, I normally start up here, but I did want to start down here. I think it's wildly crazy that we got a 30% gain by barely breaking the 50-day line. Normally, you would have significantly more volume than just the average to bring such a substantial gain right there. So I'm a little, I don't want to use the word surprised, but yeah, I'm a little surprised that it didn't take a lot of volume for a real big move here, all right? I do not know the math behind these lines, all right? I do not pretend to be, nor will I ever try to be that smart, nor will I waste my time looking that up. I really don't care, right? I'm just here reading the story and passing it along to my people here, right? But I have no idea why the RSI is still going down despite us actually going up the last couple days, right? Especially today being a real big day. You would think that would offset that, but look, ignoring the RSI has kind of been the MO for a couple of the videos. That's a nice divergence on the MACD. I'm assuming volume's going to get better. I am. And again, I see it pushing after hours as well right now, which is actually pretty nice to see. But yeah, if this thing can get up to 7 million shares, that's basically 100,000 shares an hour. No, did I do my math right? I think I did the math. Wow. That's embarrassing math. 700,000 in 7 hours. It's 100,000. That was embarrassing. I need 100,000 shares per hour. If we can hit that, I think really big things can continue here. You can see my next line is all the way up there at 2873. And like I just said with Rigetti, we are now over the biggest candle to the left, right? We clearly closed all the way up here with the biggest candle to the left being down there, right? So I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. And hey, even if you waited for this 20 to break 2070, you basically could have caught a little bit more than 10% of the day, right? So a lot to like. I'm ignoring the RSI. What's the weekly look like? This is a good weekly. This is a good weekly, right? We've been battling with the 100 moving average, excuse me, that blue line. Last time we were well over it was in 2021, right? So 3 years since we've been over it. That's a nice hold of it. And really, those last three weren't beautiful. This is a little early in the week, obviously, but that's looking like a good weekly right there. We just saw Rigetti in the 90s, deep 90s, right? So 81 RSI actually isn't that crazy here. QMCO, let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Let's take a look at QSI. Again, you would think I would have made this one last since this one's kind of the least of the pretties, right? So I just talked about it. Let me flash my thoughts. Oh, come on. Oh, that's right. I was up here at deeper. Sorry. QSI. Boom. This is the post. Okay, there's two things I would focus on for QSI, okay? Ideally, we see so many gains on all those other quant tickers, right? I'm going to go through the list and you're going to see them, right? They're all double digits. They're all crazy. Ideally, if you're in QSI and that's the one that you want to go for, ideally some of the volume moves away and you get a little bit more of an immediate pop. To me, next week matters way more. It's all about the weekly chart and it's about that same 100 moving average line I just talked about. This one has never been over it since the creation of it on the weekly, right? This candle right here, you can see it. It closes when you're at the door, which this one is, right? You can see the close of the day. The green line on top is 162. The average 100 in blue is 162. This is at the door. When you're at the door in a blizzard, it's significantly different than over it and in the house, right? So this didn't count. This was the first candle over it last week. We need to confirm, right? I think next week will probably be more important, but maybe, like I said, maybe all the other volume can come into this one, all right? I'm assuming one of these two lines is next, and that is what I said on the Discord. Either 139 or 127, basically one of these two lines, should be what holds. Hey, we better not go below 127 on QSI. Then you're going to fall to 1. Right, and I didn't even mention it. The 200, it should hold. There's a bit of movement. There's a bit of space between there and here, but yeah, that's where it becomes unforgivable in my eyes, right there. Better hold that 200. Hopefully, we don't even go there, and that 140-ish holds. Really, we need to get over 175. Get me over 175. Really, if you even want to wait for 190, I think that could be worth it. But yeah, I think 175 makes me think green, red, green. You know what I mean? So. That's QSI. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. QUBT. You know, it's funny. This one, I mean, it's not even funny. This is beautiful, right? This is just beautiful. And for a while, I thought it was QBTS and RGTI kind of going together. Again, you kind of know I love IONQ a little bit more. I don't want to say I love them because they're all just random, but I put a little bit better weight on IONQ over the rest of them outside of Rigetti. But QUBT, man, look at this day today. And again, beautiful technical movement. This is what I was saying on QMCO. When you can get this much better volume than your average line, that's how you get a monster double digit day, right? QMCO barely got over the line and brought an almost 30% day, right? So to me, QUBT did it the more normal technical way, if that makes sense to you. But yeah, all I'm seeing is it never loses the 8. Clearly that's under. Clearly that's under. Clearly that's under. There's a difference between under and losing. You hear me say the opposite more often, right? There's a difference between being over and breaking it, right? But yeah, we never lose it. Hey, we actually never use a full close of a candle on the 20 either. Just FYI, right? But loving what the 8 moving average does. Break a resistance, go to the next resistance, try to go over it. But hey, we're basically still living on that, right? That's a very healthy 65 RSI. I got to go to the weekly, I think, to zoom out. Next place I see is 14. 1435 is the golden line on QUBT. Man, this is a 90 RSI, but it looks like it's kind of going back up and wanting to go back to the 98, 97, 97 it was living at in these 3 weeks, literally where Rigetti is sitting right now, right? So we know it's done it before. We know someone in the sector is doing it right now. I think it's realistic, and I don't see why 14 wouldn't want to come on QUBT. IONQ. I like this so much, so much, so much. You ride the 8 well. You can't really get over that golden line. Good candle, not confirmation. None of those count. None of those. Again, you're over the line, but you don't break it. And I am talking about this golden line. All of a sudden, we're under it, but we don't lose it. And boom, 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 right? So yes, Friday was a big day. Friday, we were under 2 and we get back over 2 moving averages. You know, I want big, big confirmation. I would call this candle big, big confirmation. I now actually believe we've broken the 31 line. I now see nothing more than a stock in all-time highs. There is nothing here. There's no educated line for me to say, okay, I think this line right here, like what's the difference between that and that and that and that? Like there's nothing I can do here, right? So all-time highs is a beautiful thing. Same RSI reset. We just talked about it with QUBT. We just talked about it with Rigetti. 85 is normally high, but we're pushing 90 pluses, right? As long as Powell does nothing crazy, things should be good. Imagine if for the call on January 29th, imagine on that one if he says we're going to move double, not double, but normally you move 0.25 basis points, 25 basis points, whatever you want to call it. I'm not pretending to be that smart. Imagine if we do a half, right? Right now, we're only looking at either staying or a half. This one's even talking about maybe even a little bigger for that first January one, right? So give me some good guidance. Give me some more NASDAQ all-time highs. Give me some more IONQ green candles, all right? What's the weekly look like? Obviously, the weekly is up in all-time highs, right? We talked about it too. I already did. You can tell I'm excited, right? QBTS, this is last, certainly not least. You know, it's funny. Someone mentioned that this thing was going to run to 750. I thought that was a little aggressive, especially seeing that it was a $5 stock. Lo and behold, it actually hit that and more, right? So I love calling myself. I don't brag about being right. I call myself out about being wrong, and that was for sure one. This was a wild day. Look, Friday destroyed the 50-day line. Today destroyed Friday and obviously the line, right? Very, very healthy RSI. And again, on Friday, it was still in the 60s, right? So plenty more room to go. Better, stronger divergence on the MACD. This is what volume looks like and should look like, right? And I mean, even that, I know that looks a little extreme. It's not as low as something like that. And even that you can say is kind of the truer volume and a more sustainable one, right? But still seeing some real nice things here in terms of the volume. I'm zooming out. My goodness, we're hitting some IPO lines here. I got to draw the next line. My. Give me a second. Give me a second. Wow, I told my wife this was not going to be a 20-minute video. Lo and behold, we're at a 20-minute video. I got to go with that one. That's our golden line. Don't have $11 dreams just yet. We got to get over that 7 line for sure. Yeah, there's not much more. I wouldn't even draw that. Yeah, I mean, that's a beautiful channel if that breaks. Again, I know we're over it. Make me believe we've broken it, right? That's what we're looking for. I'm liking what I'm seeing. NASDAQ's doing the NASDAQ job. You know I appreciate you all so much.